Good morning, and today I would like to review a little bit about matter, atoms, and atomic structure. So you might want to write down this information into your science notebook as I'm going over it, as it would be really useful for you as we continue to plan. So I would title this probably just Atom Review. Would be a good title to kind of put there at the top of your page for this. So the first thing I wanted to kind of address is that matter is made up of anything that has mass and volume. And we're going to loop back to that because atoms are basically the building blocks for everything. So basically all matter is made up of atoms. And so those atoms make up everything in our universe. Everything in our universe, from the air that we breathe, ourselves, the earth, the solar system, the universe, everything is made up of atoms. And so when I break everything down into its simplest component, that is going to be atoms. And when we look at atoms, if we look at atoms of only one type, that then will be an element. So for example, oxygen is an element, nitrogen is an element, argon is an element. Those would be, those atoms broken down into their simplest pieces would be then an element. And a lot of times those elements are, of course, presented into the periodic table of elements. And the information that is provided on that periodic table is oftentimes presented in what's called a tile. And that tile on the periodic table has a lot of information that we're going to want to be able to pull out of it. And so I'm going to use lithium as an example, which has an atomic number of 3. And so that atomic number is usually at the top. And then you usually have a symbol or name underneath that. And then you have another number usually down here at the bottom that is going to be its mass. So let's go ahead and label those. So that, like I said, this first number up here is the atomic number. And then the letters over here are what are called the symbol. And then this number down here at the bottom is the atomic mass. Now, there's a lot of information in just those two numbers. So the atomic number and the atomic mass are going to be really important. And so that is something that we're going to want to kind of keep an eye on. And so as far as the atomic number, that atomic number is really what defines that element. Okay, so you can see that, helium has an atomic number of 2. And if I change that over to a 3, if I change the atomic number, I now have a different symbol, a different element. And so that atomic number is really what defines the atom. And that's also equal to the number of protons. So the atomic number is the same thing as the number of protons. And I'm just going to use a P with a plus sign because protons have a positive charge. So the number of protons is the same thing as the atomic number. And remember, I already said that that is kind of what defines the atom. And so we'll want to, again, keep a close eye on that particular number, because that then tells us what that is. What element it is. The atomic number is what's extremely important. Okay, so let's take a look a little bit more in depth as far as what I mean when I talk about the number of protons. And so when I look at a atom, I want to take a look at the atomic structure. I'm going to start off by drawing kind of a nucleus in here in the center. Okay, so in that nucleus, and I'm going to use, again, lithium as my example, because it has an atomic number of 3, I know it has 3 protons. So I'm going to go ahead and draw those 3 protons inside of here. 1, 2, 3. And they're all inside of that nucleus. And so I'm going to color that nucleus in a little bit. Okay. And then around the nucleus, I'm going to have what's called an electron cloud. And so let me go ahead and draw some more rings around this. And those rings are the electron cloud where the electrons are at. So we have protons and I have electrons inside of an atom. So my electrons are on the outside of that nucleus. So they're not inside the nucleus. Those electrons, those negatively charged subatomic particles, are on the outside in the electron cloud. So let's go ahead and label those real quick. So out here, I have what's called the electron cloud. And that's where my electrons are at. And then inside of here, I have my nucleus. And that's where my protons are at, and my neutrons, which don't have any charge. Okay, so protons have a positive charge. Those are in the nucleus. My neutrons don't have any charge. So I'm going to put a little 0 next to that one. And then my electrons have a negative charge, and they're out in the electron cloud. So I have my electron cloud, and then these two combine to form the nucleus. Okay, so what's also interesting about this is that, I need to put my neutrons in there. So my neutrons are inside of the nucleus, but I'm not sure exactly how many of those I should put in there. Well, we have to do a little bit of math to figure that out. So the neutrons and the protons both have a mass of 1. So 1 atomic mass unit is what the mass is of each of these. So I'm going to go ahead and label the mass of my proton as 1 atomic mass unit. The neutron is also 1 atomic mass unit. So if I have 3 protons, I know now inside of my nucleus, I know that that mass is at least 3. And if I look back at my periodic table tile, I'll see that the atomic mass is on average 6.94 is the average mass of those lithium atoms. And so what I can do then is I can just do some quick math. So I can take the atomic mass, which again is 6.94, and I'm going to minus the number of protons, which in this case is 3. And so that comes out to, when I round, that comes out to about 4 neutrons on the inside of that nucleus. So I'm going to go ahead and draw those in there. 1, 2, 3, and 4 inside of that nucleus of my lithium atom there. And so I can use the atomic mass and the atomic number to find out the number of neutrons. And, so again, that information that's inside of that tile is extremely important. And so I want to make sure I'm looking at the atomic number and the atomic mass and know how to use those numbers. Now, what's also interesting is that the electron does not have any mass. It has a mass of actually 0. Okay, and why is that? It's interesting. So let's go back to what I was talking about before, as far as mass is anything that has mass and volume. And so what's interesting then is all of my mass is actually inside of the nucleus. And so my mass is basically the nucleus. And what's also interesting is that volume, the volume part of that atom is actually all in the electron cloud, because that is what is out, that nucleus is extremely small and extremely compact, whereas, so it doesn't really have any volume per se, that all the volume, all the space is in that electron cloud. So the nucleus is the mass, and the volume is the electron cloud, is where that's all at. So when I look at this, then my mass is really my protons and my neutrons, and the volume is basically all the electrons outside of that. Okay, so that would be kind of a good review of what the essential things are on the atom, matter, and the atomic structure. So if you have any questions, please contact me and we'll get you taken care of on that.